Have you ever caught yourself wondering whether there are little things you do, habits you've settled into over the years, that might be quietly pushing people away, even though no one ever tells you? As we move into our golden years, it's natural to get comfortable in our routines. Some habits can feel reassuring, even wise, but others can become blind spots, so familiar that we don't even notice them anymore. You might think, that's just me being me. Yet friends, family, and strangers around you are taking note, and often without speaking up, they begin to adjust how close they let you get, how long they stay, or whether they reach out at all. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on 12 of those awkward habits that tend to creep in with age. I'm not talking about physical appearance, or ugliness, in any aesthetic sense. I mean the small behaviors that can chip away at the dignity you've earned, isolate you, and erode the respect others hold for you. Habits that, once you notice them, are completely fixable. By the end of this video, you'll have clearer eyes and a practical roadmap for gently shifting these behaviors so you can reconnect with the warmth and rapport you deserve. Let's start right at the top. The first habit that people notice but rarely mention is a decline in personal hygiene. Now, I'm not talking about major lapses, just the little things that begin to slip. Maybe you've worn the same shirt 2 days longer than usual, or your hair feels a bit tangled, or those nails have grown out just past the comfortable length. Perhaps there's a faint odor that lingers after you leave the room. It seems small, but to the people around you, it shouts a powerful message. You've given up a bit on yourself. Think back to your younger years, when you maintained routines effortlessly, showering daily, keeping your clothes fresh, brushing and trimming nails without a second thought. As energy wanes and priorities shift, it's easy to let those routines slide. But the people who care about you pick up on this shift in self-care before they say anything. They might not mention it because they don't want to embarrass you, especially younger family members who worry about hurting your feelings. Instead, they do something more subtle. They sit a little farther away, cut visits a bit short, or hesitate to offer hugs. They're not rejecting you, but rather the unwritten message your hygiene sends, a sense that you might not value yourself or them as much as before. This isn't about dressing like a runway model or spritzing on cologne every day. It's simply about a basic level of self-respect that says, I'm here, I care about myself, and I still care about you. A fresh shirt, neat hair, trimmed nails, even a quick splash of cologne or a spritz of scented lotion can tell the world you still value dignity and connection. Remember, people respond to your energy before they hear your words. When you take care of yourself, you invite others to treat you with the warmth, attention, and respect you deserve. Now, let's turn to a habit that can catch people off guard: speaking without a filter. As we grow older, something curious happens. That little voice in your head that once whispered, "Maybe don't say that out loud," can grow quiet, even disappear. It feels liberating. You've paid your dues, earned the right to speak your mind. But in practice, unfiltered honesty can come across as bluntness, and bluntness can be painful. Imagine you're at a family dinner and you comment on someone's weight, hairstyle, or parenting choices. You may mean it as a joke, or think you're sharing just the truth, but to the listener, it lands like criticism. They shift uncomfortably in their seat, avoid eye contact, and mentally brace themselves for the next remark. What they won't do is say, "Please don't speak to me like that." Instead, they'll become more guarded, visiting less often and keeping conversations shorter. Over time, even those who care about you deeply begin to pull away, simply to avoid the sting of careless words. This doesn't mean walking on eggshells or censoring every thought. It does mean introducing a pause between impulse and expression. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this kind? Is it helpful? Would I want someone to say this to my grandchild? Because kindness wrapped in honesty builds bridges. Harshness wrapped in truth, or worse, wagged as criticism, builds walls. Your wisdom is valuable, but it resonates powerfully only when delivered with compassion. When your words honor both truth and empathy, people lean in, they listen, they respect you, they seek your counsel, not avoid it. Next up is a habit as subtle as it is telling: wearing clothes that no longer fit or reflect who you are today. There's comfort in familiar outfits. Perhaps you've slipped into the same well-worn sweater or faded slacks for years. But as our bodies change, that garment that once felt like home can start to feel like an echo of the past. Pants that hang too loosely, shirts that cling where they shouldn't, dated styles from decades ago, or shoes that have lost their shape. These are more than just fashion missteps. They whisper to the world that you've stopped paying attention to the present moment. Think how people respond when they see someone dressed in clothing that fits them well, flattering their figure and reflecting a sense of care. It sparks admiration. It tells them, I still value myself, and I respect you enough to present my best self. It's not about chasing trends or looking like someone half your age. It's about choosing clothes that fit comfortably, that suit your current coloring and physique, and that feel good on you. Swap out the pairs of pants you've owned since the Clinton administration for a modern cut that sits at your waist and schemes your legs. Replace outdated sneakers with a slip-on walking shoe that offers good support yet looks sharp. These small updates don't have to break the bank, but they do shift the way people see you, and more importantly, the way you see yourself. When you dress with purpose, you project dignity and confidence, qualities that never go out of style. So, those are the first 3 soft habits that, though unspoken, can drive people away. Neglecting personal hygiene, speaking without a filter, and wearing clothes that no longer fit quietly chip away at connections and diminish the grace you've earned over a lifetime. By shining a light on these blind spots, you now have the chance to course correct, to reclaim that warmth and respect that naturally comes with age. In the next part, we'll explore 3 more habits. The way we converse and move in shared spaces that can create distance without us even knowing it. Let's keep this momentum going and bring back the presence and charm that make your company something to cherish. When you lean in to share your wisdom but never pause to let others speak, the very people you care about most begin to drift away. It happens so quietly you might not notice it until you sense the distance growing in conversations that used to sparkle with laughter. As we settle into our later years, it's natural to feel we've earned the right to speak freely, to regale folks with stories, advice, and decades of hard-won knowledge. But without a little restraint, that gift of experience can start to feel more like a lecture than a dialogue. Imagine sitting around the kitchen table with your children or grandchildren. They mention a challenge, perhaps a problem at work, or a new hobby they're trying to master. Before they finish, you're already into your own anecdote, explaining how you handled something similar. Back in my day, you see a nod of appreciation at first, but as the minutes tick by and your tale unfolds, their smiles fade and they start to glance at the clock. Eventually, they leave the room to take a phone call or wander off, subtly excusing themselves from what has become a one-way street of talk. Interrupting or dominating conversations isn't born of malice. In most cases, it's fueled by a genuine desire to help, to make sure your point gets across, or simply to share the joy of remembering. Yet the effect is the same. People stop bringing up their own stories because they don't feel heard. They begin to see every chat as your moment, not theirs. And when that happens, they stop calling as often and keep their visits shorter. It's not a rejection of you. It's a self-preservation instinct kicking in. No one wants to feel silenced in their own story. The secret here is balance. You don't need to vanish into silence. Instead, practice offering up your wisdom with room for response. Notice the natural pauses in conversation and use them to invite others in. What do you think? Or, tell me more about how that felt. Even a brief, I'm curious, what would you do in that situation? Can shift the energy back into true exchange. By listening first, you show respect for their experience, and they, in turn, feel safe to share. Surprisingly, that often leads them to ask more questions of you, valuing your insight rather than tuning it out. Just as speaking without listening drives people away, another habit that quietly erects walls is complaining about kids these days. You might catch yourself saying, "These young folks don't know hard work," or, "In my day, we didn't need GPS to get around." At first, those comments feel like harmless observations, just a bit of generational comparison. But when you voice them often, you send a subtle but powerful message. You're not interested in understanding the world the younger generation inhabits. To them, it feels like rejection of their reality, their values, the very world they live in. Consider a grandson who pours his heart into a project you find baffling, say, digital art or esports. If your default response is, "That's just screen time gone to waste," the next time he visits he'll hesitate before telling you about his latest creation. He'll learn to keep his passions to himself rather than risk yet another critique. On the flip side, when you swap criticism for curiosity, "How did you learn that technique?" Or, "What do you enjoy most about it?" You bridge the generational gap. You earn the role of someone who listens, someone open-minded. And from that place of respect, your advice, when offered, lands as wisdom rather than judgment. It's true, every generation wonders if the next one is missing something. But turning that wonder into criticism only widens the divide. When you approach younger people's choices with genuine interest, even if you don't fully understand, you spark meaningful dialogue. You demonstrate that your value isn't in comparing eras, but in connecting them. And when they feel heard instead of lectured, they come back, eager to share. That's how you transform a habit that pushes people away into one that draws them closer. Speaking of drawing people close, have you ever noticed that small breaches of modern etiquette can create surprising friction? It could be as simple as speaking loudly on your cell phone in a quiet cafe, standing too close in line, or letting your video play out loud in a waiting room. None of us set out to be disruptive, but these little lapses send a message that you're not tuned into how your actions affect others. In decades past, folks were more tolerant of noisy conversations or unexpected behavior, but times have changed and unspoken rules of courtesy have shifted. Today, those small missteps can make people quietly uncomfortable. Imagine you're at the grocery store, phone pressed to your ear, discussing the grandkids' latest antics at full volume. Other shoppers navigate around you, craning their necks to avoid your soundtrack. They won't say, "Could you please lower your voice?" Instead, they stiffen, hurry past, and mentally file you under, inconsiderate, even if you're simply enthusiastic. And while they may still greet you with a polite nod, they won't linger to chat. The remedy is deceptively simple. Cultivate situational awareness. Notice how people around you manage their volume or their physical space. Observe their cues. Do they step back? Do they glance at you? Use those signals to adjust. If you need to take a call, step aside or lower your voice. When you walk into a crowded area, be mindful of how much room others need. And when you want to play a video or listen to audio, use headphones. These small shifts of awareness broadcast respect. I'm tuned in, I see you, I care about your comfort. And that kind of courtesy builds rapport instantly. It tells people you're engaged with the world on its terms, not just your own. By tending to how you converse, listening more than you speak, by replacing criticism of younger generations with genuine curiosity, and by polishing your public etiquette, you reclaim the ease and warmth that make every interaction a pleasure. These three habits, dominating conversations, lamenting kids these days, and ignoring modern etiquette, are easy to overlook but powerful in their impact. As you grow more mindful, you'll see people lean in, smile more freely, and reach out more often. With these shifts taking root, you'll find the door to connection opening wider. In our next conversation, we'll explore 3 more habits: oversharing medical woes, clinging to outdated beliefs, and unwittingly moving through space without awareness. That can also quietly nudge people away. By gently adjusting these behaviors, you'll continue transforming each encounter into a moment of genuine warmth, respect, and belonging. Keep going, you're doing great. Moving through life with a constant litany of aches, lab tests, and medication updates can unintentionally turn every conversation into a trip to the doctor's office, rather than a warm exchange between friends or family. It's natural to want to share health concerns. After all, these experiences are real and often difficult. But when every gathering or phone call drifts back to my knee, my blood pressure, or my latest scan, the people you love most begin to feel like caregivers instead of companions. Think about the last time you sat across from a grandchild or a lifelong friend. You might have started by asking about their day, but before you knew it, you were describing side effects, dosage changes, and upcoming appointments. They may have nodded politely, but inside they were scrambling for a topic that would lighten the mood. Over time, they learned to steer clear of deeper conversation, sticking to safe small talk rather than risk more medical details, and that quiet retreat chips away at genuine connection. Instead, try weaving your health journey into the broader tapestry of your life. You might say, "I've been working on strengthening my knees so I can get back to gardening." Then follow with, "But enough about that. Tell me about your latest project." By framing health updates as part of your ongoing story, rather than the entire narrative, you invite others in without overwhelming them. They'll still feel included and cared for, but the conversation stays balanced and lively. That leads us to another habit that often sneaks in as we age: clinging to beliefs formed decades ago, rigidly and without question. Holding firm to what you've always known can feel comforting. There's security in certainty, but it can also build unseen walls between you and people who see the world differently today. You might catch yourself saying, "That's the way it's always been done," or "You can't trust those newfangled ideas," and mean no harm. Yet, on the receiving end, those words can echo as, "I'm not open to hearing your perspective," and that stifles the open dialogue younger generations thirst for. Respecting your core values doesn't mean rejecting every new thought. Try turning "I don't agree with that" into "Help me understand your thinking." By asking questions instead of issuing judgments, you invite a two-way exchange that honors both experience and discovery. Over time, you'll find that even if you don't fully embrace a new idea, simply being open to listening deepens trust and keeps relationships vibrant. Speaking of openness, consider how you navigate shared spaces. Whether it's at the grocery store, the bank, or just the front hallway at church, slowing down is perfectly natural, but forgetting to glance around as you move can make you an unintentional roadblock. Standing square across an aisle, pausing mid-hallway, or drifting into someone else's path sends the silent message: "I'm not aware of your presence." People don't politely point it out. They squeeze past, rush around, and chalk it up to "another slowpoke in my way." But it doesn't have to be that way. As you walk, take a moment every few steps to scan your surroundings. Is someone approaching? Do you need to step aside? That small habit of checking over your shoulder and shifting to one side shows you're engaged in the communal flow of life. It's a simple courtesy that puts others at ease and lets them know you're considerate of the shared space. You'll notice fewer frustrated glances and more warm smiles in return. There's a powerful through line connecting these habits. Whether we're oversharing medical woes, clinging to outdated beliefs, or moving without awareness of others, we send subtle signals that can distance the very people we care about. The remedy isn't perfection, it's presence, being mindful of how our words and actions land, and choosing connection over comfort or routine. Imagine a circle of friends or family gathered around you. What if each person felt free to share, to be heard, and to move without discomfort? What if your life stories were just one thread in rich, colorful tapestries of shared experiences? By gently adjusting these blind spot habits, you become not just the elder in the room, but the heart of it, welcoming, respectful, and fully engaged. In our next conversation, we'll explore 3 more behaviors: jokes that no longer land, leaning into helplessness, and the compulsion to always be right, and how you can replace them with choices that draw people in rather than push them away. Because at the end of the day, the real gift of age is not simply the stories you carry, but the wisdom to share them in ways that lift others up. Keep going, you're doing beautifully. Jokes have always been a way to bring people together, to lighten the mood and spark a smile. Yet sometimes the jokes we've told for years don't land the same way anymore. Maybe it was a harmless quip about someone's background or a playful jab at a stereotype that, back in the day, seemed funny to everyone. Now, however, it might sting or feel out of step. You might laugh as you deliver it, thinking you're just trying to be amusing. But on the receiving end, people often brace themselves, unsure whether to laugh or to walk away. They won't tell you they've stopped inviting you to their gatherings or that they're steering clear of you on Zoom calls. They just quietly opt out of any conversation where they expect that old joke to surface again. It's not that humor is off limits. Far from it. What makes a joke timeless is its ability to unite, not exclude. So next time you're tempted by that old one-liner, pause and ask yourself, is this truly funny if it targets someone's identity or life choices? Does it build connection or create a barrier? You might find that self-deprecating humor, or sharing a light-hearted memory from your own life, invites laughter without risking offense. When people see that you can laugh at yourself, they feel safer and more at ease. Suddenly your presence in the room becomes a source of warmth instead of discomfort. Closely related is the habit of acting helpless over things you still have the strength or ability to do. It's natural that, as we age, certain tasks become more challenging. No one expects you to run errands without ever asking for a hand. But when we default to, someone else must do it, even for small chores we're still capable of managing, it sends a message that we're surrendering our independence. Family members and friends who once delighted in helping you begin to feel weighed down, as if they're forever cast in the role of caretaker rather than companion. Before long, they may hesitate to offer assistance, fearing you'll expect it next time you meet. Instead, reclaim those small wins. Carry your own grocery bags when you can, handle the TV remote, sort your mail, even if it takes a little longer. When you do ask for help, only when you truly need it, it becomes an honest, mutual exchange rather than a habit. You'll notice the energy of your interactions shift. People feel honored to step in, rather than burdened, and you'll rediscover the confidence that comes from knowing you're still in the driver's seat of your own life. Then there's the compulsion to always be right. After decades of experience, it's tempting to cling to the belief that our way is the best way. You might find yourself correcting someone's story at the dinner table, insisting on your interpretation of an event, or dismissing new approaches with, "But that's not how it's done." While you don't mean harm, this insistence can leave others feeling unheard or dismissed. They start to avoid deeper conversations because they expect a lecture rather than a dialogue. True wisdom isn't about never making a mistake. It's about knowing when to speak up and when to listen. The next time you feel that tug to correct or assert your viewpoint, pause and ask, "Would I rather be proven right, or be part of a shared discovery?" Invite others to explain their perspective, and share yours as a possibility, not an absolute. You'll find that people lean in more when they feel their ideas are respected. Over time, your voice will carry more weight, not because you dominate the room, but because you speak with openness and humility. Imagine sitting around a table where laughter flows easily, help is given and received cheerfully, and each person feels safe to share their story without fear of judgment. That's the spirit we want to cultivate. By choosing humor that uplifts, by preserving the independence you still have, and by trading the need to be always right for an eagerness to learn, you transform every interaction into an opportunity for connection. These shifts aren't grand gestures, they're gentle course corrections. Yet, just like steering a ship, it's the small adjustments that keep you on a smooth path. Look back on each day and notice which of these habits popped up. Maybe you caught yourself ready to tell that old joke, or you realized you let someone else carry your light coat instead of doing it yourself. Perhaps you felt the urge to correct a family member's story. Acknowledge it kindly, then choose differently next time. Growing older is a privilege, and the real gift lies in sharing our stories without losing sight of the people around us. When you carry yourself with awareness of your words, your actions, and your space, you invite others in, strengthen bonds, and preserve the grace you've earned. Keep making those small changes, and you'll notice how conversations deepen, how laughter becomes easier, and how every visit ends with a warm "see you soon," rather than a silent sigh. Here's to showing up in the world with the dignity, presence, and warmth that make every moment richer, for you and everyone you meet. Now that we've gently shone a light on those 12 little habits, neglecting personal care, blurting out every thought, holding on to ill-fitting clothes, turning every chat into a monologue, defaulting to kids these days, grumbling, forgetting today's unspoken social graces, overloading every conversation with health woes, digging in our heels on old beliefs, weaving aimlessly through public spaces, dropping jokes that no longer land, acting more helpless than necessary, and insisting we're always right. You might be wondering, where do I go from here? The good news is, awareness is the first and most powerful step toward change. None of these habits make you a bad person. They're simply blind spots that creep in over time. And once you notice them, you can choose differently. Think back on your day just now. Did you pause to style your hair or slip into something fresh? Did you catch yourself about to correct someone or jump in before they'd finished their thought? Did you almost tell that old gag without checking how it might land today? Maybe you drifted through the grocery aisle blocking the way. Or you invited someone to lift for you something you could still manage on your own. Notice those moments not as failures but as invaluable signals. They're invitations from your own life to steer the wheel in a new direction. Start small. Pick one habit that resonated most. Perhaps it was the reminder about personal hygiene. Tomorrow morning, commit to brushing your hair, choosing a crisp shirt, and trimming your nails. Feel the subtle shift in how others greet you, the warmth that returns when they sense you value yourself. Or if it was the urge to interrupt, practice holding back. Let someone else have the floor. Ask questions instead of offering advice. Imagine the delight in their eyes when they realize you care enough to truly listen. If it was those outdated jokes, take a moment before you speak to ask, would this bring us together or push someone away? Then share a self-deprecating story instead. A harmless anecdote about your own forgetfulness or your quirky shoe habit. You'll be surprised at how liberating it feels to laugh at yourself, and how much closer it brings you to those across the generational divide. For the habits of public awareness, walking mindfully, managing our volume, respecting personal space, treat it as a new kind of mindfulness practice. As you step out the door, scan your surroundings. Notice whether you're drifting into someone's path, or if you're talking too loudly on the phone. Adjust. Smile. Show by your actions that you're still very much present here and now. Engage with the people you share these spaces with. That quiet courtesy speaks volumes about the person you are. Reclaiming your independence in small daily tasks, carrying your own bag, operating the remote, tackling the new smartphone update, can feel like rediscovering hidden strengths. It's not about proving you're still independent. It's about honoring your own ability to keep going, to learn, to engage. And trust me, when you reach for help only when you truly need it, those around you will step up gladly, not begrudgingly. And finally, let go of the need to be right in every discussion. Wisdom is not the stubborn conviction that your way is the only way, but the generous willingness to say, I could be wrong. Tell me more. When you lean into curiosity instead of certainty, you signal that you're still open, that you still believe in connection over conquest. In those moments, you become a safe harbor, someone others seek out because genuine dialogue flows so naturally with you. Over time, these small shifts accumulate. The person who was once quieted by your bluntness now leans in to share a secret, because they know you'll respond with warmth. The family member who used to tiptoe around your chores now feels comfortable offering a shared laugh as you carry the groceries together. Friends notice how you show up, fresh, engaged, considerate, and they can't wait for the next visit. Strangers sense your presence and respond with smiles instead of sidelong glances. Most importantly, you'll notice how you feel. Pride replaces guilt when you realize you've dressed in something that feels right today, not stuck in a decade gone by. Relief washes over you when you've listened more than you've lectured, discovering new stories you'd have missed otherwise. Joy bubbles up when you share a joke that lands perfectly, weaving people together instead of pushing them apart. Confidence returns when you remember all over again that age doesn't diminish your value, it deepens it. This journey of letting go and embracing new patterns is never about perfection. You won't suddenly transform overnight, and there will be moments you revert to old habits. That's perfectly fine. In fact, seeing yourself slip is yet another chance to learn and adjust. Treat each day as a fresh canvas. Notice the brushstrokes you choose: kindness or criticism, presence or distraction, independence or unnecessary doubt. Then, with gentle intention, paint it anew. I encourage you now to pick one habit, just one, that stands out most. Write it down. Share it with someone you trust, a friend, a child, a neighbor, and let them support you. Make it a little goal for this week. I will pause before I speak, or I will pick my own groceries, or I will choose a joke that uplifts. Notice the difference it makes in your interactions, and let that positive feedback fuel you toward the next habit. As we wrap up, remember that growing older isn't about holding on to the past or resisting every change. It's about continually rediscovering how to show up in the world at your very best, in dignity, generosity, and grace. When you replace unconscious habits with conscious choices, you don't just reshape how others see you, you reshape how you see you. You reclaim the narrative of your later years, turning each chapter into a story of connection, warmth, and influence. If these insights resonated with you, take a moment right now to comment below. Tell us which habit you're tackling first. Your story might inspire someone else to make that same shift. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you'll never miss an episode designed to help you live your most vibrant life at any age. Share this with a friend or family member who could use a reminder that it's never too late to grow, to adapt, and to shine. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-awareness and change. Here's to the next conversation where you show up fully present, to each laugh that brings people closer, and to every small choice that reaffirms your dignity and your place in the world. Keep moving forward, stay curious, and never stop the work of being your best self, because the world still needs your warmth, your wisdom, and your grace. Until next time, take care and shine on.